Hey,
Hello.
that's our best intro we've ever done.
Oh,
Tight,
yeah.
tidy.
Yeah, I've been practicing.
Hey, this episode was supposed to be out on a Friday, but it wasn't. And you know what? You're just going to have to deal with that.
You can watch it on a Friday.
You can if you want to. I can't stop you. It's technically January when we were recording this, and this month our patrons wanted us to play a game from narrative dev Grim Baccaris, which is a great name.
Absolutely.
Absolutely wonderful. You might know them from the Twine Grimoire series, which are quite fascinating. And they also have like a ton of just narrative stuff, which is so overwhelming to look at. I am sorry, I just saw NASCAR for the first time. Anyway, moving along. We are going to be playing through the demo for their newest title, Resurrection Gate.
Resurrection Gate. My brain has been filling in Resurrection Game this entire time.
What? Yeah, that's definitely an M in between. Are you feeling all right?
Maybe.
All right. I am looking forward to this. As usual, it's been a hot minute since we played a Twine game on the channel, and we are contractually obligated to play, some IF or some Twine, some of that stuff every couple of months at least, if we want to keep our weird narrative fiction cred. So we're gonna play the demo for Resurrection Gate.
All right.
Death opens doors. Perhaps some should remain closed.
Let's
go
do
to
it.
settings. About the game and how to play. Actually, yeah, let's take a look. Wait, this is what got me when I was looking through it before I began. This volume slider. I'm concerned now.
Why? It has a volume slider because there is sound.
Yeah.
What is there to be concerned about?
Sound is concerning. I'm used to having to add in our own BGM when we play IF and Twine games. So this is a new experience for me. It's an interactive gothic horror novella made in Twine. This game is being optimized for mobile devices and is best played in Firefox or Chrome. We're in Chrome. This is a demo build, published as part of Ectocomp 2024. Happy Halloween. When you see a glowing symbol, press Enter or Space or click LMB anywhere on screen to advance the story. Got it. Holding down the key will reveal all passage text rapidly. Okay, got it. Choices in a dialog box. Certain links will change their meaning if clicked on. Got it. And there's safe stuff. Cool. Content advisory for death, grief, gore, violent trauma. Stripping energy is described at some points. We will not click on plot details. But there's your fair warning.
All right.
I am looking forward to this. Very much so. An endless corridor of mirrors stretches out before you. Your footsteps do not echo here. They carry no weight. Glimmering shapes in the darkness resolve into form. A smudged mirror with a plate armor motif. A flash of green eyes within. A convex mirror with a heraldic hellmouth motif. A flash of brown eyes within. A cracked angular mirror crowned with sharp rays. A flash of silver eyes within. Others of all shapes and sizes hover in the void, indistinct and dark. Only a continuous void swirling within. Darting eyes in every color gaze back at you from slivers of reflection in the darkness. Deep brown pupils and irises, indistinct but still lit, as if from within, with deep precision. Keen pinprick voids and seas of molten orange. Neon pink shot through with rings of irradiated lime. But when you hold their gaze, they disappear. Oh. Spacebar? Nope. No spacebar? Do we not like me today? What's happening?
Do you have to click that thing?
I'm wondering if I need to click that thing. You do have to click that thing. Many reflections waver before you. Bassinet, Helmuth, and Monstrance. I like Helmuth.
Sure.
Helmuth,
From Cleveland.
I was going to say Helmuth sounds like a town on Cape Cod. Hey, buddy.
Do you have to click each of them? Interesting. So it doesn't appear that it's that.
Awesome. Okay.
Is it what are the in the top left? Are those anything?
These allow us to go back and forth between pages. Oh, do I click on Helmuth? I am confused. Have I fucked up? Am I getting skill issued in a Twine game? If I'm being skill...
Is there a thing that's like just off screen? We have to scroll!
All right, thanks for playing, everyone. We'll see you next time. Great sewed, great sewed. Definitely did not just get defeated by a scroll wheel. Can you believe we've done this for nearly a decade now? Jesus. Let's look into the Helmuth mirror.
All right.
Its convex surface twinkles. The hellmouth encircling it gnashes and gnaws. Brass eyes carved into eternal restless vigilance. Wide brown eyes, the color of rich loam, stare back at you. Loneliness, dread, curiosity. When your gaze anchors to them, the eyes open wide, wider, and snap shut. This time I'm not getting skill checked by a scroll bar. Let's look into the monstrance mirror. Moon-pale gray eyes, with luminous irises like mirrors in their own right. Sharp as a knife, looking anywhere but at the observer. Precision, dignity, pain, patience, if you would. He cannot meet your gaze yet. Let's look into the bassinet mirror. Despite the mirror's significant wear and tarnish, there is still a streak of clarity across the glass. Wide green eyes, the color of lush algae, stare back at you. Loyalty, terror, uncertainty. They do not look away. Oh, okay. I wonder if that was our character select.
Yeah, seems like it. And I guess you unlock them over time.
Yeah, okay.
And or some aren't available in the demo.
I get it. Okay. A soldier in search of peace. Today, Yasha is a scavenging mercenary whose only ambition is to survive from day to day. What feels like a lifetime ago, he was Lieutenant Holst, a cavalry officer who served the Marquis of Mir. But the Marquis, and Mir with him, are no more. One of the few survivors of a catastrophic siege, Yasha struggles to parse the grief and guilt he feels in the wake of such violence. Unmoored from their former home, he and his companions must find somewhere to seek asylum before their luck runs out. Invariable traits. Hussar's training. Yasha was formerly a high-ranking cavalry officer and possesses all of the requisite skills, though some have faded with disuse, and he has become anxious giving orders or performing a leadership role. Interesting. Unquiet mind. Fear and hypervigilance rule Yasha's decision-making, and he is predisposed to seeking whatever path will promise the fewest potential setbacks or dangers. He always expects the worst. He can be harsh and self-deprecating, yet despite his outward prickliness, a spark of hope may yet kindle somewhere within him. Bite thy tongue. To soothe his nerves, he has become a man of extremely few words. Yasha prefers to avoid lengthy conversation wherever possible, and dislikes sharing personal information. Unfortunately for you, buddy, we're in the middle of a game that is mostly text. Yasha's skill set. Oh my god, we do get skills! Skills play a role in what kind of checks characters pass, what dialogue options are available to them, and what kind of choices they can make in certain scenarios. Skills are interpreted via ordinal. I need another sip of my coffee, clearly. Via ordinal variables, whose values range from very low to very high. Hover over each skill for details. Acumen. Alright, acumen rules reasoning and judgment, decision-making, logistics, shrewdness, wisdom, used for activities like strategizing, making an informed deduction, acting in a position of authority. Acumen is associated with intellect, but formal education and even literacy are not prerequisites for maintaining high acumen. Makes sense? So ours is only medium just because we're uncomfortable in a leadership role, it seems. Our tact is low. Social aptitude, savoir-faire, camaraderie, cooperation, charisma. A character with lower tact is more likely to be unaware or unmindful of what is proper or appropriate in a given situation. That also makes sense for how this character sounds like. Our vigilance is high. Revolves around awareness and watchfulness, perception, composure, alertness. Higher vigilance equates to greater caution, but such wariness can be taken to detrimental levels, keeping one from rest or relaxation. Makes sense. Fervor governs skills that rely on one's physique, health, strength, endurance, stamina, used for physically strenuous activities, as well as activities involving intensity and passion. Okay. And daring. I gotta say, the Gothic font and I, and sitting a very long distance away, sometimes I'm taking an extra second or two. Fuels the drive towards spontaneity, audacity, temerity, risk-taking, often associated with recklessness. Excessive daring can become self-destructive.
Did we skip one?
No, I didn't go in order.
Okay.
Dynamic traits modify a character's innate skills. Add one of the following traits by selecting it and clicking confirm below. Oh, interesting. So we can customize even further.
We can make him a pony boy.
Equine enthusiast. Yasha is more comfortable talking to animals than people. His lifelong expertise is with horses, both at war and in peacetime. With this trait, he will interact more with his equine companions. Okay, that gives us more vigilance and tact. Percussive maintenance. People tend to find his sparse words and short fuse off-putting. When provoked to violence, Yasha's blows will land especially hard, but he will also become quicker to anger. More fervor and daring, but less tact. Solitary soul. Rather than succumbing to despair when alone with nothing to distract him, Yasha will make an effort to relish in his solitude, allowing him to regain his composure and think with greater alacrity. Why did I say clarity? That's not a word. It's more acumen and less daring.
So we're making him a brony, right?
Is that what you want?
Absolutely.
I was thinking I was kind of going towards percussive maintenance because I like the idea of having one stat that is just absolutely rock bottom. And equine enthusiast seems to kind of shore up our one potentially low point of the character. And I kind of think it's more interesting if we have at least one thing we cannot do well at all, rather than jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, if you don't want him to be a brony, we don't have to.
I feel bad turning you down on the one time you've made an actual decision. But I do want to see what it happens when we're not able to meet these requirements as well.
Fair enough.
Confirm. By continuing, you will begin playing from Yasha's point of view. After this point, his traits can no longer be emphasized or de-emphasized. Yasha's choices in Chapter 1 will affect other characters' behavior and available choices in subsequent chapters. Yes! This is reminding me a lot, like, I don't know when this shift happened, but there's been a very noticeable shift in narrative-forward games recently towards having this large level of customization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Slay the Princess is one that comes to mind. Not Slay the Princess, same devs. Same devs from Slay the Princess, but what was the other one? Scarlet Hollow. Scarlet Hollow. Scarlet Hollow comes to mind as having like immense character customization and a lot of effort put into having that affect the world and the choices and the scenes you're presented. I'm wondering like when that became such a standard because it's undoubtedly really good for narrative games like this. It's very fun. Kind of makes me think a little bit of what Disco Elysium did for narrative games like that. Even though it's still a CRPG and people are like, oh, is it a visual novel? I don't care. It by virtue of having such a customizable character and heavily tailoring the experience of the game you play, It's very fascinating. Anyway, I'm done talking about the stuff. Let's talk through the stuff. Wreckage. Rayton outskirts, Errata marshes. Okay. We've got both a memory and options.
So if you're looking to proceed, you'll want to click on the glowing blinking thing.
I will. I wanted to see. So memory is probably the text log then. Oh, never mind. Added Cigna, adjust audio volume in the options menu. Okay. I don't have my audio in because, again, healing piercing, but Vivian can tell you all about it.
I can't hear shit.
That's not good. Well, it's getting picked up on the recording, so
Yeah.
that's good.
It might just be very quiet.
Reflections, Cigna. We all have them, those of us who served the Lord of Myr. Some had more than others. Once I was proud to wear this ink in my skin. Now it marks me for death. We need to go somewhere it won't matter. Somewhere the Baron cannot reach. Interesting. So this is more like a tip screen. Okay.
Interesting.
So that's some kind of like tattoo that marks us as having worked for the Marquis, right? The Lord of Myr? Yeah. Menhir configuration. As the caravan eases its way out of the dense swamp, every pair of eyes is drawn to the monumental stones jutting from the earth. Arranged in a circular formation as if by design, each vast lith is wider than a wagon and several times as high, tapering as they reach far overhead. At the front of the group, Yasha rides his nameless mount beside Rhea and his sorrel mare. The outcast acolyte trudges between their horses, that Yasha may keep an eye on the interloper. As a rule, he distrusts fast-talking, eavesdropping monks who skulk around in the swamp. Rhea pushes his spectacles higher on the bridge of his nose and clears his throat.
How sublime.
He muses.
Historians still argue whether this site occurred naturally or whether it was constructed by the ancients.
Yeah, if I saw a bunch of rocks in a circle like that, I'd be like, who put those there? That's gives very ominous vibes. And this is Sully. I think it's all nature. Reminds me of fingers or teeth. It's the first thing the monk has said that Yasha agrees with. He thinks of sharp fangs erupting through loamy gums.
Whatever the case, tonight we join the legacy of travelers who've spent the night here.
Rhea turns to address the rest of the caravan.
This'll do, everyone. Make yourselves comfortable and rest well. We leave at dawn.
The riders dismount and the caravan disperses amongst the Menhir configuration, unloading wagons and hitching horses. The animals seem to be at peace with the makeshift campsite, calmly grazing near the outskirts. The humans are still tense and weary after days of travel, sluggish with fatigue. We should probably speak with Rhea, since the narration mentioned that we are inherently distrustful of the fast-talking monk, right?
Fair enough. Our poor beasts of burden. I hope we shall find succor for them soon. A city of Ratoon's size must have a public stable.
How far are we away?
Another day east, perhaps two if we are unlucky. We are in the Errata swamplands west of the Duchy of Ratoon. Once we reach the city, we will enter a new territory and escape the Baron's reach.
I see. So that makes it a bit clearer. Like getting, it's specifically about getting away from the sphere of influence of whoever this Baron is. I'm guessing they might have been the person that deposed the Marquis that we once worked for. Unable to countenance further reminders of the Baron, Yasha clears his throat loudly and spits on the ground. Rhea, usually not given to such crassness, nods along in approval. He huffs a breath against his lenses and continues to rub the grime from them with a cloth.
The Queen of Cair-Cua is the Duke's master. His will is but an extension of her influence. She has maintained neutrality, even disinterest in the matter of our liege, may he rest, and the Baron's feud.
Okay, yeah. So it seems like we are all people that were in the Marquis orbit and are like, nope, we're out of here now. We know when we've been made the political opposition class, and we're getting the heck out. Oh, Yasha hasn't spoken yet. Cowardly, Yasha growls. Craven. Rhea's dark eyes twinkle as he puts on his glasses.
But now it cannot be ignored. Ratoon is a sanctuary city. We may find respite there.
Interesting. Okay, so we do just get to pick a couple. What's the plan here?
We must keep moving. The rest of us are counting on you to lead the caravan.
Rhea stops cleaning his glasses and replaces them on the bridge of his nose.
We are still within the Wicked Baron's sphere of influence, where his mercenaries have been ordered to hunt the survivors of Mir. One look at the signa on our hands and our fate will be sealed. We have come too far to fail.
Yasha's hands are scarred and ink-stained. The signum on the back of his right hand is identical to the one on Rhea's. The simplified crest of the now eradicated House Virtanen of Mir. Okay. It's interesting that they're called signum, and they're like, I know this is just a mouth sound thing, but I hear like mark on your hand. I'm just specifically thinking of like stigmata. Right? Interesting. And we are apparently in charge. Are we gonna like Oregon Trail or what? Am I gonna die of dysentery? Do you think it's safe?
Safer than this, Yasha, by far.
Squinting, Rhea pushes his glasses up on the bridge of his nose.
Ratoon is a sanctuary city. The Baron's militia may not pursue us there to continue the massacre, lest the Queen of Karakor find them in violation of her decrees. Ratoon itself has little military might to speak of, but Her Majesty, she will defend her realm.
Interesting. Okay. It doesn't sound especially safe, because it sounds like that's just one conquest away, but I guess it's better than being actively hunted. Also, did you notice in the first one we had some colored text backgrounds, and in this one we don't?
Yeah.
I'm guessing those are related to the to our attributes we picked at the beginning. Like those dialogue options show up or don't show up based on our disposition. Maybe Vasily is there. Rhea hesitates.
I cannot say that I agree.
You don't know. You didn't see a body.
I saw Vasily taken hostage by the knight who slew our lord and his young scion. He would not have spared an old man.
Rhea's voice is tense, every syllable enunciated lest he lose his composure to the unwelcome flood of emotion.
Prithee, let our friend rest in peace.
If he escaped... Yasha clenches his jaw and swallows the lump in his throat. Then I will find him. Rhea lifts his face to his hands, fingers crawling up under the frame of his glasses to cover his eyes.
I miss him too.
At a loss for words, Yasha squeezes Rhea's shoulder. He hopes it is enough to convey his scattered thoughts. I'm sorry. I understand, but I can't let go.
What is the thing mirror that popped up in the bottom bar?
The mirror?
Oh, it's our status. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
So, and we got objectives, too. Imagine that. Investigate the underbrush, wrangle the spooked horses. Escort the group safely to the sanctuary city of Ratoon. Excellent. So that just shows us what we got currently, and this is our notes page.
Yep.
And it looks like we can have relationships. Not relationship, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Social link, go!
Social link, go! Yeah, exactly. There we go. Our social relationships are important in... Oh, so we only got to pick one. All right, let's see. Menhir Configuration Camp. Dusk approaches. The shadows of the stones bleed into the encroaching darkness. The camp fills with murmuring voices, wisps of smoke, and savory aromas as the group settles into a routine, bordered on every side by the towering menhirs. The animals seem to be at peace with the makeshift campsite, calmly grazing near the outskirts. The humans are still tense and weary after days of travel, sluggish with fatigue. Near the wagons, Rhea is cleaning his spectacles. He appears lost in thought while the monk flits between members of the group, gregarious as ever, introducing themselves as Sully and making small talk. We are not allowed to examine them because we don't have enough acumen. Excellent. Excellent. This is what I was hoping for. Okay, so this is how we'll see specifically that we don't have. Mind the horses, check on Rhea, check on Sully. Oh, we chatted with Rhea for a while, and the narration insisted that that we are distrustful of Sully. So let's check out the horses first.
I see. So we don't want to be a pony. We don't want to be a brony, but we do want to hang out with the horses. Getting some buyer's regret. Buyer's remorse.
Well, you can just play it again choosing different attributes. How do you like them apples, huh? This demo is free, so please, by all means, go for it. At Yasha's approach, Rhea's sorrel mare cocks an ear at him, flicking her flaxen tail and nickering for a treat. Beside her, Yasha's horse swings his head high, alert, turning first one eye and then the other in Yasha's direction. Yasha remains perfectly still, observing the animal's body language. Terror radiated from the creature like a froth of sweat when he first found him, but he has begun to calm down in the short time since. Rhea calls his mount Saga, but Yasha still has no name for his unfortunate beast. Easy does it, Yasha tells him gently. It is becoming their common refrain, almost a name in itself. Easy now. Let's feed! We'll do horsey stuff. See, we can compromise. Retrieving 2 apples from his satchel, Yasha offers one to each horse, reaching out with his palm and fingers flat. Saga nuzzles him with her velvet nose, pressing her head closer and allowing him to tousle her mane as she accepts her treat. Like her rider, she is withdrawn but affectionate once drawn out of her shell. Yasha's mount regards him warily before taking a step further to inspect the apple. Warm snorts of breath puff across Yasha's hand as the horse mouths at it, hesitant to bite in, as if to say,
"For me? You're sure?"
That's the horse voice?
That's on the spot. I wasn't thinking.
That's the horse. That's canonically what horses sound like. Yasha remains still, giving the horse time to consider his intent. At last, he clenches his teeth around the fruit and pulls it into his mouth, biting down hard. Yasha is pleased to see no ring of nervous, bloodshot white around his eyes. I wonder what happened to this horse, because it sounds like Yasha came across him, but they clearly seem to be acting, or at least Yasha is worried about inciting a trauma reaction in the horse, right? Or bringing something up in its past.
I wonder if the memory about the horse that got unlocked when we went to the screen has anything to tell us about that.
Did it unlock a memory? I am so bad at looking up in the upper right corner. I'm glad you do. Feral warhorse. Found a spirited stallion wandering the Errata swamp. Managed to convince it to come with us without much trouble, though. All right, this is Yasha actually writing. Found a spirited stallion wandering the Errata swamp. Managed to convince it to come with us without much trouble, though. I think I bucked off and sliced my hand. I think it belonged to the Baron's cavalry. One of the men who slew our kin. Interesting. Okay. Let's examine Yash. Oh, we just did. We did both. No, we haven't examined our horse yet, have we?
Yeah.
When Yasha first found the creature, it had been trotting the outskirts of the swamp in aimless patterns, lashing its tail and tossing its head. It was thin and haggard. The hide of its flanks and chest, where the armor was cracked or missing plates, was rent with half-healed gashes. Its gear was encrusted with filth. The saddle stuck to its back. The crest of the barony was emblazoned on the saddle, its reins, its armor. The ostentatious design and the hardy sleekness of the mount would suggest a rider of some distinction, a high-ranking cavalry, There had been no sign of the rider, save for, perhaps, the dried blood in the mount's mane, the blackened stain frozen in the same pattern it sluiced down the horse's withers. Not without some difficulty, Yasha managed to guide it back to the group, where it seemed curious about the others, no doubt accustomed to a herd of horses and humans. Now the abandoned war-stricken creature has once again been fed and groomed, and is beginning to heal. The horse does not analyze crests, insignia, borders. It does not know baron from marquis. This was a well-trained beast once, and it remembers its training. It wants to serve. Yasha understands. Because we were part of the army, right? And like that was part of our attributes. That like we are much more comfortable taking orders than we are taking direction.
What?
That was one of the points of our attributes, is that we were uncomfortable when we find ourselves in positions of authority. And as a soldier, I extrapolated that meant that we had been dedicated to that.
We were a high-ranking officer.
Yeah, but it still said that we were now uncomfortable in places of authority.
Yeah. I took that to mean that after what happened, like, fuck, I got my men killed.
You know what? That's a much better reading than I think you're right on that. Yeah, you have the right of it. Well, thank you, horse time. That's the same. Maybe this changes, but we do get to... Well, let's check on Sully. The monk glances along the caravan, gaze settling briefly on the score of other members. They look ragged and motley, a patchwork of suffering.
Who's cavalry?
Why are you asking the questions? Yasha snarls.
Answer me.
Oh, no, that was...
Sorry.
Yeah. Answer me. Though no taller than Sully, Yasha looms large and solid before them. Why were you lurking around our camp?
I told you I heard a bunch of swamp noise and wanted to see what was up. You know...
Sully adds.
It's a public thoroughfare. I'm allowed to be here.
Crawling in the dirt. Like a worm.
You got me there.
The monk laughs.
Listen, I don't get out much. Most moonwise folks don't.
Moonwise?
What does moonwise mean?
Moonwise? Where'd you come from?
Oh, you know, yonder, thither.
Yasha cuts in. Don't.
All right, westward some, the monastery about a day beyond the lost pillar.
Nodding along, Yasha concedes. Got it. He believes them. Scratching the stubble along his jaw, his blunt, bitten down nails catching on the scar down his cheek. It's old, yet not old enough to fade. Likely as not, it never will. When Sully gets a look at his hands, it makes them wince. His nails are bitten to the quicks, fingertips red and raw, cuticles ripped, remaining nails like peeling layers of shale.
Doesn't that hurt?
Sully asks, pointing to a raw-looking hangnail scabbed with old blood. Yasha glances down at it as if considering whether to rip it off with his teeth then and there. He grunts, shakes his head, clears his throat convulsively. Time for a change of subject. Yasha wasn't gonna volunteer that little piece of information to us.
This whole swamp is full of moonwise observance sites. I was a foundling, so they took me in at the monastery. Been there ever since, until now.
Yasha has been reeled back into a less hostile curiosity. Moonwatchers are still around?
Yeah, I guess.
Sully shrugs.
The moon's not going anywhere, right?
Not unless I have anything to say about it. They mime a scaled-down prayer gesture, inner wrists together and palms tilted skyward as if to hold the moon like a chalice, then break it with a shrug.
But I'm just a scribe, not super, devout and shit.
Think I can guess why they kicked you out? Oh, rude. Alright. Turning to leave, Yasha mutters, "You've been on my nerves."
My bad? Are you kicking me out?
Not if you can make yourself useful.
Gotcha, boss. Lay it on me.
Sully, you are way too personable. What happened and why are you so personable? No one is this personable unless they are specifically trying to avoid being a different kind of way at the moment. Or maybe that's just me and my bad social skills. First watch sounds good. You can take first watch. Dusk approaches. The shadows of the stones bleed into the encroaching darkness. The camp fills with murmuring voices, wisps of smoke, and savory aromas as the group settles into a routine, bordered on every side by the towering menhirs. The animals seem to be at peace with the makeshift campsite, calmly grazing near the outskirts. The humans are still tense and weary after days of travel. Oh no, this is the same. Okay.
It's slightly different.
Slightly different. Near the wagons, Rhea is cleaning his spectacles. He appears lost in thought, while the monk has left camp to busy themselves with Yasha's instructions. Let's check the perimeter. Alright, so time is passing slowly here. I get it. Yasha stalks the perimeter, watchful eyes seeking out every detail for anything amiss. Nightbirds sing, bats swoop overhead. Frogs begin to croak and peep, echoing throughout the swamp. A fire is roaring, and the group is settling in as well as can be expected. The promise of shelter is close at hand, and sanctuary motivates everyone. Quiet, tired chatter fills the camp, punctuated by the horses' activity and the scrape of metal utensils on wooden bowls. As dusk eases into twilight and light leaves the forest, Sully reappears at camp and approaches Yasha. Their cassock is dusty, and there are twigs and leaves in their shaggy hair. It would seem they made themselves useful.
I'm back.
All set. See anything?
Nothing much. Saw a pretty cool frog.
Dang, that is super important. Man, a really cool frog. How cool was it? Keep an eye out. With a nervous chuckle, Sully asks,
For what?
We're not as familiar with the fauna here as we would prefer. Or not particularly superstitious. So we'll just keep on walking. For what? Just walking away. As Yasha escorts the monk back to camp, he hears a disturbance in the underbrush and pauses to listen. In an exaggerated whisper, they hiss.
What now?
What now is that I get a coffee break? Quiet. Yasha turns to face the tree line where thin saplings are swaying as if brushed against by something meaty. Dinner if we're lucky. Across the camp, one of the horses shrieks. Is it one of my mouse? It's one of my mouse hovers over it that it rotates. Oh, that's silly. I thought it was when the thing rotated, when we scrolled up or down, but no, it just boop. I'm very easily amused about what can be done in Twine, and I'm very, very excited with this.
We can make one of yours do that.
Nope, I'm not doing that. Across the camp, one of the horses shrieks. There's a brutal crunch as it kicks the tree it's been hitched to and gallops away between the megaliths, spooking the rest of the horses into a frenzy of screams and pounding hooves. Yasha whirls to see Rhea lighting a torch in the bonfire and rushing to the source of the commotion. He sprints over, followed by Sully, and finds the other horses still hitched but in great distress. stamping and snorting at something in their midst. A ragged, skeletal body is crumpled in the dirt. Yasha can see paper-thin flesh and exposed ribs, snapped like kindling from the force of the iron-shod horse's kick. The mummified corpse turns its head to regard them with empty sockets. Looking it in the eye is disorienting, dizzying. Yasha has his hand on the pommel of his sword when his legs are swept out from under him. The bony extremity that collides with his shin sends out a white, hot bolt of pain through both legs. Though it looks to be helpless and rotting, the thing is deceptively strong. It lurches into a standing position, seizes the monk by the hair, and drags them away screaming into the shadows of the swamp. Still brandishing the torch, Rhea's glasses reflect its flickering light.
Yasha, let me help.
No. Yasha struggles to his knees, then back to his feet, shaking his head. No, I'm fine. Just keep everyone here. Get the horses settled. I'm getting the monk back. Rhea reaches for him with his unoccupied hand. Then Yasha takes it, finding it uncharacteristically clammy. He sees the fear in Rhea's eyes, magnified by his lenses.
You're not going alone,
he insists. I am. Yasha heaves a sigh. If I ain't back by dawn, you go on without me. Meet you in the city if I live.
Yasha, please.
No. Another shake of the head. Mine's made up. He squeezes Rhea's hand, kisses Rhea's hand, releases Rhea's hand.
We get to pick, I see.
Stay safe. Oh, we got new memories and a new status in our mirror.
He's disturbed.
I mean, I would be too if, dude with one eye and mostly bones. Not enough flesh on that one. Ambush. Skeletal creature with a taste for horseflesh spooked the mounts and dragged off the monk. Must have a taste for human flesh, too. There we go. Yasha walks and walks, following drag marks and deformed footprints. He's grateful when the sharp rocks and twigs littering the forest floor become more scarce. Dirt turning to mud, mud turning to moss. In the near total darkness, the plush moss lining in the earth could be a luxurious carpet. The vast tree trunks and the leaves whispering overhead become the architecture of some living, breathing castle. Insects and frogs sing quietly in the nights. Somewhere in the water, a gator hisses. In the distance, obscured by the shadows of tree trunks and branches, Yasha can just make out the pinprick of his mercenaries' campfires. Most have gone out, and leave no trace but the scent of smoke still lingering in his clothes. One flickering orange beacon still remains, burning low. Yasha continues until he can no longer see the camp. As he squeezes between two smooth tree trunks, he emerges into a clearing where moonlight filters through the shattered canopy. An enormous shadow looms in the distance. Squinting through the dim moonlight, Yasha begins to make out its shape. Strange, dilapidated geometry, a massive slope, a bent skeleton like a hoop cage. Like an immense automaton in repose, it remains motionless, towering in the dark. Yasha can hear something nearby, fluttering in the night breeze. Comparing it to an automaton is interesting, because with zombie fiction, you got two big flavors of it, right? You've got like the autonomous zombies as creatures, where they're just kind of self-animating and do their own thing. And then you have zombies as like a necromancer situation, where someone is controlling them and making them do whatever. The automaton remark made me think, like, is someone controlling this guy, or is it just doing its own thing? Yeah.
Is he describing that thing, or is he describing another thing? This doesn't sound like a description of the thing that kicked him.
Shape. Well, when he described it like the bent skeleton, like, yeah, I guess you're right about that. It made me think that, like, is he seeing this creature now from a new angle? But it could be something else, and I'm just jumping to conclusions because
It wasn't immense.
that is true. It says immense, massive slope, bent skeleton like a hoop cage. I've got it. It's a mecha-sized zombie. Get in the rib cage. As Yasha approaches step by cautious step, he notices that the trees around the great shadow have all been long since dilapidated. Branches and split trunks litter the clearing. He stumbles on something cold and angular. Falling to his knees, feeling the ground for the culprit, he lifts a small metal panel. Old bolts line its surface, and a fringe of rust has roughed its edges. Yasha looks up again at the looming shadow. His eyes adjust to the quality of light in the clearing, and as he clutches the panel, he understands. This is a grounded dirigible. And now I have so many questions about the setting here. What?
They got dirigibles.
They got dirigibles. Part of me really wishes dirigibles had taken off.
I mean, they notably did take off.
They notably did take off. You know what I mean. Imagine if air travel took as long as, like, rail travel or whatever, and it just... Why do we need to get everywhere so fast? It's so stressful. Like, we had to go through an airport for the couple months ago for the first time in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this sucks. This is... We get where we're going really fast, but I'm not happy with any of this.
We also didn't get where we were going very fast. It still took a very long time.
I mean, we were going literally halfway across the world. So, I mean, that itself is kind of a miracle. But still, it's like, why can't we just travel in dirigibles? Let me sit in the sky for a few days and read a book while we travel. One of Ratoon's famous airships returned to the Earth here. Its crash created the clearing and destroyed scores of souls, including a former duke. Okay, so this is one of the dirigibles belonging to the city that we're headed to. Because we're headed to Ratoon.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, maybe guarding surveillance ships, like, just, like, keeping an eye on shit and being... Yasha has been called superstitious, but here he is more concerned about wild animals than ghosts. By the smell of it and the strange claw marks in the trees made by no paw he has ever laid eyes upon, some creature has made this wreck its den. Dead or alive, Yasha expects to find the monk inside. He rises and approaches the dirigible. A hole gapes in its side, framework smashed, its fabric outer layer frayed and flapping limp in the breeze. Yasha pushes the canvas aside and enters, minding his step. Boop! As he advances into the wreck, Yasha draws his blade, blinking as if to will his eyes to adjust faster to the deepening darkness. The small animal bones litter the ground, crushed like crockery amid scraps of fur and scales. Creeping flora grows around and through the ravaged dirigible, as well as the bodies within. Yasha creeps deeper in, stepping over a decaying deer carcass, then a set of bones too long and lean to be a quadruped's, with no sign of fur or scales. What? A set of bones too long and lean to be a quadruped? What is it then?
What do you mean?
What's bigger than a quadruped? Or like what? A set of bones too long and lean to be oh, he means a human.
Yeah.
Right. Man, my game is off today. You ever? I'm like, what's got more than 4 legs and is that big? That's absurd. Did you imagine a meat thing walking around with 6 legs that big? It'd be weird. No, I'm... Clearly, I'm glad you're here today. Because you're the one that's like, hey, SK, you're being a bit of a dunce right now. As Yasha presses on and within the lair, the lush verdant ruins become foul and twisted. overwhelmed by a blood-rot stench. Ammonia, feces, digestion, and decay. Every sound leaves Yasha on edge. The dirigible's creaking supports and flapping canvas cut through the night ambiance, drawing attention to the other subtle sounds, slithering, dripping, writhing. Peering through a strip of torn canvas, Yasha can just make out a silhouette on the other side, an unintelligible knot of carnage.
You there.
Oh, we can't ignore it. Can either follow, answer, or search for the monk. Oh, these ones bring up little... Huh. Okay. Any suggestions there?
I don't know.
Okay. This is what I get for ignoring you the one time you had a suggestion, is that now you're like... Oh, now you want my suggestions? Let's answer it.
Sure.
That seems safer than... Hesitant, Yasha attempts to communicate without approaching the thing.
I am so hungry.
The voice sounds hoarse and weak.
Have pity.
Yasha cannot tell whether the abomination is human or animal in nature. What do you eat?
Meat. Meat. I must feed.
Was the monk not filling enough? Yasha demands.
Wily thing. I would rather have dined on horse flesh.
Then there is a chance that Sully is still alive.
I allowed it to evade my might.
Yasha is skeptical. He sees no might to speak of.
Bring it to me.
Eat shit. No, that doesn't sound very tasty. Should we follow it or just... I guess this one's also going to bring up like a little... Yasha pushes the moldering canvas aside and approaches the strange silhouette.
Closer. Come closer.
The voice seems to echo in Yasha's mind. Shut up.
Be not afraid.
Don't you start be not afraiding. Biblically accurate zombies? Angelic zombies? Right? Because that's the whole, yeah, be not afraid. Yeah. The figure in the shadows twists to face him. Yasha glimpses a lattice of exposed bone, strands of flesh writhing upon it like a swarming hagfish.
Have pity.
Heedless of the request, Yasha's blade remains drawn as he nears the hideous thing. How about some mercy? A cruel laugh rings out in the dark, sending a chill down Yasha's spine.
You think your little prick can hurt me?
Well, hey now, that's just rude. From beyond arm's reach, a tensile strength of tissue lashes out and strikes Yasha's sword arm, drawing blood before retracting into its point of origin. The creature emits a hideous slurp, then an ear-splitting scream as Yasha hurries back out of range.
Get back here.
Nope. Don't think I will. Well, let's go find Sully. Hideous carcass. Let's check that out. Bare bones writhing with loose raw flesh. Unnatural light and empty eye sockets. Teeth. Too many teeth. Given that this game is called Resurrection Gate, I almost wonder if our mystery character here, just raw guess based on the title, someone's going to try to resurrect themselves or someone else at some point, right?
Maybe.
Otherwise, why would you call the game Resurrection Gate? Did this dude try to resurrect himself and he's like, well, this did not work well?
Could be.
The beast snarls as Yasha evades its rotting corner of the dirigible. A slick, dark substance drips from its maw. One roomy eye. Roomy? Is that how you pronounce that? I've never pronounced that word aloud.
Yeah.
One roomy eye stares out from the creature's misshapen head, but it has not caught sight of new prey yet. In such proximity, its scent is overpowering. Rotting meat and burning hair. A snapping branch somewhere behind him makes Yasha jump. He turns to see none other than Sully, The monk is alone, limping on what looks like a sprained ankle. Vulnerable.
Holy shit, I didn't think you'd come back for me, to be honest.
If anyone's gonna kill you, it's gonna be me. A talon of tipped... I'm gonna just try a third time. A talon-tipped web of frayed muscle darts up from the frothing greenery underfoot. Yasha lunges forward a moment too late, and it collides with Sully, sending the monk sprawling to the ground with a yelp. Oh! So it's like a, Wait, no, but it was up and around. It's like, is it like... For a moment, I was wondering if it's got, like, if it has, like, tendrils around the whole of its lair or something like that.
Maybe.
And it's more like a Venus flytrap, come to me and get curious and I'll snatch you scenario. But then why would it be up and walking around and dragging people back? That wouldn't quite make sense. The dirigible creaks, its gutted carcass open to the elements. Another shadow moves through its innards, a cloaked human silhouette moving with silent precision. The stranger grasps Sully by one wrist, pulling an arm around their shoulders and helping them to stand, and putting a distance between themselves and the threat. The miserable collection of body parts lets out a grinding scream of frustration.
Scum of the earth, betrayer!
That's not just an empty eye socket. You've got like a whole ass mouth going on in that eye socket. Is this a different 3 question marks, or is this... Huh.
It'd be odd.
It would be odd. You've got some fine jewelry, too. Yeah, really the most upsetting thing is the mouth where the other eye socket is. Like, for whatever reason, like the flesh tearing away, all that, I'm cool with that. That we can imagine that happening. What happens to put the mouth in your eye socket? That's part of your skull. That's not... That's not just flesh rotting away. Something happened to put that there, and I'm upset thinking about it. A soft, low voice issues a simple command from within the cloak.
Tonight you shall starve.
Every man for himself. Attack the creature or eat this. I kind of want to pick the daring option.
Sure.
You hungry shithead. Yasha swings his sword in a vicious arc, cutting through the threadbare canvas and thick green vines as he approaches the shambling carcass. He doubts he can do it any meaningful harm, but he can distract it while the non-combatants escape. I taste pretty bad, he promises.
I've had worse.
That does not deter the creature. A wet growl erupts from its gaping mouth as it lurches in pursuit of Yasha, away from Sully and the stranger. Yasha manages to dart out of the way as the carcass collides with the wall behind him, crashing through and lodging itself in a mass of twisted steel. As screams of unearthly frustration echo through the wreck, Yasha takes the opportunity to flee. Okay. If we attack, lunging at the thrashing abomination, Yasha manages to strike its center mass. Its ribs splinter and crumble, dripping with rot from within its chest cavity, and it lets out a piercing, garbled shriek of dismay.
You have made a mistake.
It turns to swing one flesh-stripped arm at Yasha, projecting a jagged length of bone from its ulna to catch the blade.
I will hunt you.
It takes all the force Yasha can muster, every ounce of trembling might, to disentangle himself from the undead thing's attempt to break his sword. As he swings it free, he strikes the side of its skull, and pieces of cranium shatter like crockery. Even this does not stop its voice or its fury. A blade's sharp appendage lashes Yasha's hands and slices his forearms.
I have your scent.
Yasha is injured. Open wounds bleed steadily through his sleeves. That's not good. Well, every man for themselves. Fleeing the dirigible with the stranger, Yasha doubles over to catch his breath outside. Okay, so it looks like the period ones are the ones that move us forward, the ones with the dot. The ones that are options are bring up certain scenes that we can play through but don't have to, and they might have consequences. Okay. I don't know. It just seemed rude for us to come here try to save Sully, and then immediately be like, every man for himself. That's just like, what message are we sending here? I care about you, but this specifically is the line.
I care about you enough to try to save you, but not enough to put in that much effort.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
I will show up, but like I'm not going to put in the work.
I'm clocking in, right? This is a 9 to 5 for me. Fleeing the dirigible with the stranger, Yasha doubles over to catch his breath outside. The stranger turns and regards the pair for a moment, and under the light that streams through the canopy overhead, Yasha catches a glimpse of pale hair and olive skin. This is no roving monster, but a human being.
Thanks for the assist.
Sully hails in a whispered shout.
Are you lost too? No, my friend.
The stranger replies. Their voice is deep and sonorous.
But you are. You must not linger here. Go back from whence you came.
So you've got a big cloak, and we can see at least a little skin under there. That doesn't mean... This is no roving monster, but a human being. Okay. Well, the narration... Like, if they're cloaked and hiding in a bit, like, is it another one of these that's fighting their own? But, we'll trust the narration for now.
Whence I came isn't going to work for me.
Sully admits.
I'm not supposed to go back to the monastery.
I just realized the capture isn't capturing our cursor. I want you to know that the game has turned our cursor into a gauntlet, a metal gauntlet with a one pointing finger, and that's been very delightful for me. Even though it's a cursor capture is off right now. Ratun, Yasha murmurs through gritted teeth. Need to get there. The stranger's head tilts under the cloak. Long silver curls cascade out of their hood.
I can guide you if you wish.
Who are you?
Really?
Sully beams.
Sully beam. I know a guy in the Citadel. If I drop Nenok's name, the guards will probably let me see him.
Sheepishly, they scuff at the ground with their worn-out sandal and admit.
I don't have the means to stay at an inn, but the bishop lets me crash at his temple. Think nothing of it, child. I will let you in. Huh?
The stranger removes their hood, revealing their face. Their gaze strikes Yasha as appraising and aware, yet not unkind. Did that one blink?
Yeah.
The other ones don't blink, but you blink. That's upsetting.
Sorry.
I forget if I read it or not. Their gaze strikes at Yasha as appraising and aware, yet not unkind.
I am a friend of the Duke. It will be done.
Grinning, Sully asks,
Is his security usually this, casual?
We are not vigilant enough to... Avoiding eye contact, Yasha has not held the stranger's gaze for long enough to notice anything amiss. Well, that takes Sully off of our hands, and Sully seems fine with it, so that works for us. Works for me. The stranger inclines their head gently.
No harm will come to your friend under my watch.
Yasha shrugs. Don't care. Not my friend. Sully hisses through their teeth.
Sheesh, I thought we made some progress.
We went through this. I showed up. That's all you get. Glancing between the two, the stranger's amber eyes glitter in the moonlight.
Suit yourself. I wish you safe travels.
All right. Now knowing that we can get... That some of these can, for whatever reason, give us some negative repercussions. I don't know that we all need to poke this hornet's nest, you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
We could... I'm going to poke it anyway. Poke, poke. I don't trust you.
No harm will come to your friend.
I've heard that one before, believe it or not. Yasha has no patience left to lose. His blade is still drawn. The stranger's keen amber eyes flicker to Yasha's sword arm.
No need for that, if you please. You are wise to be wary. The world is cruel.
It is. Yasha agrees. It's rotting. The stranger inclines their head, maintaining a respectful distance.
May your caution preserve you.
Yasha cannot tell whether their words are genuine or a veiled threat. He is so accustomed to being threatened that it is difficult to think otherwise, but he's never before met someone so calm and so steady. The fear that overcame him in the wreck is beginning to subside. Slowly, he returns its blade to its scabbard. Well, I'm out.
Then it is decided.
The stranger nods, then addresses Sully.
Remain here, do not stray. I will return soon.
Blinking slowly, they add.
I will know if you defy me.
What? I'm just gonna go back to my camp. Why am I... What is this? What? What is this new bit? Stranger. Rescued from the wreck by a stranger who claims to be a friend of the Duke. Their eyes seem to see straight through me. Alright. Yasha believes them. They seem like the kind of person who might have had eyes in the back of their head, were such a thing possible. I don't know. If you can have a mouth and an eye, then maybe you can have an eye in the back of the head. I think that's perfectly reasonable given the setting so far. In one fluid, near silent movement, the stranger walks through a torn wall of the Zeppelin. In the distance, Yasha hears a sickly heaving in the distance, the sound of agonal breathing and meat slithering. Sully smiles.
I'll be fine, I think. Listen, let's meet up in Ratoon.
You kidding me?
I'm serious.
Sully presses a hand to their heart.
Stop by the temple, I'll get the bishop to bless your horse.
Yasha deliberates. He's not a moonwise observer himself, but he often feels cursed. He will not turn down a blessing.
That's the spirit.
Sully beams.
But you probably want to get a move on, right? Your people need you.
Oh. Rotten. Citadel of Ratoon. What is happening now?
Things.
Stasimon. Interior. Citadel of Ratoon. Evening. An augur speaks aloud to an empty room. Oh, I see. We're no longer in Sully mode right now. This appears to be kind of like just outside, just another scene happening that we're now getting. An augur speaks aloud to an empty room. She lounges on an ornate chair, tipping it back on its hind legs to rest her feet atop the surface of an apothecary table, where a small effigy is burning in a ceramic tray.
Have you been paying attention?
I am ever close at hand. A gust of wind blows through the open window. The curtains shift. A coat on a hanger is caught by the breeze, looking inhabited for but a moment.
In your empty theater, while we walk life's stage, are you lonely?
Goodness, no. Our crucible is always teeming with voices and memories. Art thou, sister, lonely?
Don't you worry about me. I have plenty of company. I'm a hit with the noblewomen if I do say so myself.
I cannot say I am glad to have him gone, but there is a silence here that troubles me. That of the devourer.
We're working on it.
The terrible Agon has not yet reached you.
Always so dramatic. Must we structure this farce like a tragedy?
Is it a comedy?
I suppose we are not so lucky as that, are we?
The terrible Agon has not yet reached you. So is this something that's happening to people while they are still alive?
Maybe.
It's not a resurrection thing. It's a rotting while still being forced to live thing.
Teeth.
Oh my god, that's so many teeth. The mirror you once peered into has lost its luster, the visions within growing dim. Outside of the mirror there is only the churning void, empty but for a single other presence. An angular shape draped in the heavy fabric of the crucible's innermost yoke. Let's look in that mirror. The Duke of Ratoon. A man whose murder did not take. Oh wait, so now we're playing as the Duke?
Seems like it.
Interesting. Second act character switch. Determined to thrive in spite of his recent murder, Lawrence is a lich. Oh, he's a lich. Yeah, that'll do it. Who chose to resurrect himself among the living. In life, he was an unfortunate servant of a callous lord, and he bore the proof in plain sight. His face and body were covered in his liege's iconography. In death, he rejuvenated himself, wringing the ink from his flesh and conjuring a new incarnation. After enduring a lifetime of servitude, he now desperately seeks control. Despite his former master, he believes that he'll find comfort in rulership, but he is coming to realize that power alone cannot soothe his wounds. Invariable traits include past life. A lifetime spent as a nobleman's indentured underling has left him well equipped to handle courtly etiquette and political circumlocution. A reckoner's instinct, Lawrence is mathematically gifted, adept at making accurate estimates and complex computations. And a lich lord. His true form is no more than a desiccated corpse. However, an incarnation ritual has given him lifelike mortal flesh. His carcass will begin to necrotize under grievous stress. Oh, that's fun. All right, and we've already gone over what all the skills do. We have high acumen and vigilance and tact. Very low fervor. We're not a very passionate person. I guess that makes sense if we're, like, not necessarily immortal, but very long-lived. We're like, eh.
Yeah.
And our daring is also medium, which, again, makes sense. We got to where we are by being cautious, and we don't want to... And if being under high stress will kind of give away the game, then I can see why we'd want to avoid it. What dynamic traits do we have? We have unpleasant vibe. Cold and distant, a stately fellow of 60-some years, he is a self-described mean old man. Though not so bad as to his predecessor, rather than making himself more palatable, he will lean on his reputation as a terse, no-nonsense fellow in order to harness his subordinates' respect. That'll give us more fervor and less tact. Meh. Sympathetic shoulder. Stern but sympathetic, once he was a godfather, though he suffered the misery of outliving his child. Nevertheless, a paternal demeanor, both stern and gentle, comes easily to him. Some find it grating, others endearing, but he will use it to his advantage where he can. That'll give us more acumen and less vigilance. Acumen's already very high, interesting. And charming persona. Affable and witty. Despite his more ghoulish aspects, he has been around a long time and knows how disarming wit and pleasantries can be. A kill-him-with-kindness approach is not always his style, but he is capable of a bit of finesse. Never mind how much his affability is falsified. And that gives us more tact and daring. Interesting. I kind of like being affable.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Let's try that. Yes. The Duke's carefully kept mental inventory. Oh, and it's got new, Oh, shoot!
They were clickable the whole time.
These were clickable the whole... I thought it was a meter. Oh, no. Well, hey, there's a more reason for you to go back and try it for yourself, right? Let's look at our reflections here. Resurrection Gate. Besting death was an exquisitely painful and empowering process, but more than 2 years hence, I still feel the growing pains of a new incarnation. All right. So it's just... liches can just lich. Okay. Do we have a phylactery then?
I don't know. We don't know how liches work in this
That's
setting.
true, we don't. Usurper. The queen believes I am her puppet, a mere usurper regent preserving the duchy for her infant nephew. But she is mine. I shall outlast them both, to be sure, but I shall abdicate when the boy comes of age some years hence, as we agreed. For now, I pray the city will distract me from my grief. It's a farcical existence, but my life has always been a joke made in poor taste. That's a really great way of phrasing it. I love that.
What are those?
So this is the person in charge of Ratoon, or the Duke
Yep.
of Ratoon. So we are... It's interesting, the relationship we have with the queen here is that we are apparently preserving the duchy for her infant nephew. Okay. So our job has a time limit on it. Interesting. Beholder. Never before has ardor burned within me so. For decades I have not allowed its unseemly embers to kindle. It defies belief that they have not rebuked me, and yet, how moving that one such as them could care at all for a wretch like myself. You know a person's really cool if they get just a title with a the before it.
Yeah, life goals, honestly.
I'm going to start referring to you as the Vivian.
You already do that, in fact. Wait,
The
I achieved it.
Vivian?
I achieved it. Wow. Life goal. Get.
5 achievement points. Can spend those on the Xbox Live.
Yeah.
The Devourer. An utter buffoon. Are these like our Lich friends? The Haruspecs. Though she is crass, vulgar, and loud, she possesses knowledge beyond my purview. She insists on calling me brother. I do feel a bond with this woman, for it was she whose voice I heard from in the other side as I expired.
Interesting.
And then the Bloodletter. Oh, and the Bloodletter we have seen. At least in that one brief scene. Seemed to also be liching. Furtive and withdrawn, she has declined to incarnate with the rest of us. A wiser decision, to be sure. Her malingering in the realm of beyond death is a necessary safeguard.
Interesting.
Safeguard against what?
So, lichdom seems to have something to do with there's a realm beyond death. You don't just do a thing and now you're undead. There's a place you're going to when you die and a place you're coming back from.
Yeah.
And these folks were there.
And her choice not to incarnate. Interesting. So, yeah. I've got so many questions about this setting just from...
Yeah, this seems really cool.
Not only are there strange lich things going on, but also it's zeppelins and swords?
Yeah, and I appreciate that it's doing the thing where it doesn't just info dump all of the answers on you.
Yeah.
We're getting all of this stuff, and we're going to find the answers, I imagine, halfway through the full game. Lawrence is dead, but otherwise well.
Oh, that's...
Also known as Monday.
Monday? I thought that's Friday. Oh.
Spotted the mismatched HTML tag. Yay!
Does that get us... Do we get credit for that? Do we get 5 points?
I hope so.
The Duke Regent of Ratoon casts his gaze down from the mirror and spits a mouthful of blood into the sink basin below. Also, for pronouncing Ratoon incorrectly, don't worry, we will find out as soon as we are done playing the game for the last time. That's how it tends to go with... Couldn't be us playing an entire 19 episode series and then only finding out then we've been mispronouncing the characters' names wrong the entire time. We're back in the mirror. I didn't need that. Thick rivulets slew us down the porcelain. He clears his throat and spits again, his teeth smeared with scarlet, the drain ringed with gore. He plucks a mass of venous tissue out of the sink before it can clog the plumbing. Such is his constitution these days, but it is quite the improvement overall from being dead. Faced with the choice again, die or shed thy skin in resurrection, he would not hesitate. He left behind the wretched life he had come to loathe, but its grief still follows him. Shed thy skin in resurrection. Okay, so that does seem to be part of the resurrection process. Is literally shedding thy skin. But we seem pretty well. Oh, you blink too. That's upsetting. I don't know why the blinking is upsetting, but good on you.
Oh, I wonder which of the other thes the person we met in the swamp is going to turn out to be.
Oh. Which ones did we have? We had... let me get to our memory real quick. The Beholder...
The Devourer, the Haruspect, and the Bloodletter.
Devourer... Just taking a shot, Devourer seems likely.
All right.
Because, eating, very hungry. Also an utter buffoon.
Oh, I wasn't. I meant the person who's a friend of a duke.
Oh, who's a friend of... Oh, sorry. Yeah. That makes more sense than what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, are these just the names all the liches get? And that's just one who's been having a real bad time of it?
Maybe you're right. Maybe that is the devourer. That did seem to be an undead thing that is devouring.
Yeah.
And it could be described as a buffoon. But I was curious, like, I bet that guy there...
The mysterious
is
person?
one of the thes.
Yeah. Deep in concentration, the Lich Lord restores his human mask. In order to leave his chambers without arousing suspicion, he forces his incarnation to obey his will. I wonder if the blinking means that... What if the blinking is an indication that it's a false flesh for some reason? Like they're trying too hard.
Could be.
I don't think that's it, but what if? That'd be so funny. Hiding character hints in the artwork. The portraits specifically. The Citadel of Ratoon crouches as if to oversee the city's western gate. It is a massive structure of dark stone and creeping vines built around a courtyard covered by a geodesic dome. The dome is opaque, its panes tinted from outside, but transparent from within.
Dome.
You are all about domes.
Yeah.
Because they tried to put a dome over the city next to us at one point.
Yeah, and it didn't get very far.
Someday.
Yet.
Elect Vivian.
Elect me. I will run for office. My political platform is put a platform on top of the dome.
There we go. Lawrence navigates the maze of hallways and stairways lined with paintings of former dukes and duchesses, sculptures, and framed work by local artisans. He passes innumerable doors labeled with signs naming the services and professionals at work within. He passes patrolling guards and busy public servants and citizens eager to partake of the Citadel's library. Arriving in the conference room, Lawrence finds that his council members are already seated and poring over the many architectural plans papering the long table. A minister turns to him expectantly.
The Citadel is in dire need of repair, Your Grace. Where shall we begin?
Crypt. Library. Fortification. Crypt. We need more crypt. But sir, we've spent so much money on the crypt over it. Trust me. Everyone needs a crypt eventually, right? It's practically a public works project. Let's start with fortifications. At the Duke's behest, the Citadel's crumbling walls will be repaired. It'll take time, but the first day of work is a smooth enough process. Lawrence accompanies the foreman and watches closely as he points out vulnerabilities and structural failures ignored by the previous Duke. Lawrence is supervising repairs when a dull pain begins to throb behind his eyes. He pinches the bridge of his nose in an attempt to relieve the pressure, but it is no help. Given time, the pain sharpens into acute focus and forces him to search for privacy. He finds it in a high abandoned tower, on a balcony overlooking the Zazma Bay. Clutching his face between withered hands, Lawrence feels the air growing heavy with his own decay. Beneath papery skin and strands of muscle, his bones protrude in glimpses of nacreous white. Nacreous?
That's a good word.
Nacreous? I'm learning so many words playing this, and I'm like, these are great synonyms. I need to keep these in the back of my head. He feels the approach of his fellow undead before he hears their quiet footsteps. The Beholder appeared beside him, offering their hand, whole and lifelike, bearing the same scars and calluses it once did when they were alive, recreated in impermanent flesh. The Duke lifts his head, regarding them with empty eye sockets, his lipless mouth clenched in a rictus of pain.
Did we give the Duke a voice already?
Have we given... I don't think we have. Would you like to be the Duke?
Sure. Pardon me, Bessarion. I cannot seem to hold myself together.
He accepts their hand, pressing it between both of his. He realizes that he had summoned them, unintentionally, but the need was felt, and so they had followed it. Though they could not feel pain as he did, they sensed his agony.
Called it. It
The
was
Beholder.
one of the thes.
Yeah, the Beholder. Is it right? Right?
And I think, yep, and you were right about the Devourer, judging by the last line of text on the screen.
High fives all around, team. Anyway, you were also Bessarian, so...
I wasn't I? What
Yeah.
kind of voice did I give Viserion?
I don't recall, but...
I do not wish to add to your suffering, but... Oh, right, this was one that had a deep, sonorous voice.
Yes, deep...
I do not wish to add to your suffering, but there is something I must tell you. The Devourer has risen.
Ooh, interesting point. And then we're not in danger, but the humans definitely are.
Yeah.
Then the humans are in danger. Bessarion gazes up at him.
I feel responsible.
They admit.
If I had managed to dispel him long ago, he would have no voice and no power over us. He would have returned to the essence from which he was wrought, if not for my failures. Now he has lost his reason. He never possessed it in abundance, but what he could summon once is gone now. There is only hunger left.
See, it just took me getting through most of this cup of coffee for it to start clicking in for me to be like, boom, 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 boom. The necrotic tissues clinging to Lawrence's skull shift into an expression of light dismay.
You are not your brother's keeper.
Ah, that explains the kind of duty there. With slow, uncertain movements, he reaches out as if to touch Bessarion's face. Finding that he has not been rebuffed, he carves his fingers through their curls, despite their pervasive numbness. But they are aware of his tenderness all the same, and they lean into his touch.
I came to comfort you.
They murmured.
Yet here you are. Perhaps I consider this a comfort.
The two watch the sunset in silence for several minutes as Lawrence regains his composure. He manages to summon flesh once more into his withered form, coating the skeletal armature in viscera. Beneath his fine clothing, shapeless meat squirms to reform a stable incarnation. Muscle sculpts itself along his limbs and torso, reconstituting itself from rot. His bony hands lose their moldering color. His nails retract to an ordinary shape. His pallor lessens. The nails retracting to an ordinary shape. That's Oh, I guess, because, like, it's not necessarily rot, but, like, they're just growing. It's like they would just continue growing out over time or something like that.
What?
Like, the nails growing longer when his body, as a side effect of his body rotting, just seemed like an interesting... Or maybe it just meant, like, they were rotting, so they kind of just skewed or whatever.
Could be.
Bessarion beholds Lawrence with unflinching fascination as his face rebuilds itself over his naked skull. Hunks of pale cartilage and fibrous strands of muscle gather atop bleached bone. Skin stretches to cover the squirming flesh. Eyelids pull taut over empty sockets, and when he opens them, bloodshot gray eyes stare out from within. I kind of gotta wonder about this setting. It seems like they put a lot of work into having to remain human.
Yeah?
Is there... Or rather... in order to maintain the appearance of being human. Is that just for the convenience of continuing to exist in human society? Like, if they didn't care about that and were just down for the whole immortality thing no matter what else happened, could they just say screw it? Or does that also mean... Or does remaining human also help them maintain their reason and avoid what happened to the Devourer?
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Could be.
Like, there's a downside to immortality, and that is... If you don't keep up appearances, then you will just eventually capitulate. Bessarion meets Lawrence's gaze, their unfeeling hand laid over his unbeating heart.
Pleasure is not the absence of pain.
True, but sometimes it does just as well. Hey! That's so neat.
This seems cool as heck.
This does seem cool as heck. The setting seems so fascinating. I love the way the characters are, like the way the customization works, and like I like, and my mind is boggled that this is all Twine.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who has dipped their toes into creating in Twine on a few occasions, I look at this and I'm like, this is upsettingly detailed. It makes sense. You can. This is, by the way, for free. The demo is free on Grim Baccaris' itch.io page, which we'll leave a link to in the description below. So go check it out for yourself. And they've got tons of other stuff you can look through as well. Like, this is just the one we picked out because it was the most recent in the library. But I am so curious what other hidden, like, details and stuff were in this demo that we didn't touch on.
Yeah.
Like, dang. This gets a solid dang out of 10. Thanks again to all of our patrons for supporting us another month. It means the world to us that you like what we do here, even when sometimes we're having a little trouble keeping stuff up. And we hope we can keep doing stuff that you'll appreciate far, far into the future. We'd love to give a super special shout out to our patrons of the I'm Jacked In tier, including Alice Demore,
Slow Flurry,
and the Fighting Doll. If you like what we do here and want to support us as well, you could do that at patreon.com/8pr. All the money we make from that goes back into the channel. So it allows us to buy the games we play all the time, and also most importantly, keeping our equipment set up to date and in repair. Most recently, our patrons were the reason we were able to quickly order a replacement microphone when the one we were using broke. So we are incredibly grateful to them that setbacks like that don't mean that we have to stop doing what we love doing. Patrons also get access to the Patreon Potpourri a month before it becomes available on the main channel, and they get to vote for indie creators for us to feature on the channel every month, which is why we were playing this game right here. So if you have an indie creator you want us to play, that's one way to get it to happen. Also, if you ever meet me in real life, I will give you one crisp high five. Vivian can vouch, they are super crisp.
Yeah.
Like wrist damage crisp.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.